track your immersion hours. Literally, just write down how much time you spend reading, listening, speaking Japanese. I didn't do it for years, and even though I was studying every single day, my progress was just inconsistent. It didn't feel like I'm following a path that will bring me to fluency. Because some days I was doing a lot, like 4 hours of studying Japanese. The other days I spent 3 or 4 hours with Japanese, but I didn't actually get any studying done. I was just getting distracted. But recently I started literally just writing down in my notebook the amount of time that I spent listening to Japanese, not the amount of time in front of a screen, but the actual amount of time that Japanese is getting into my ears. So, for example, an episode of an anime could be 25 minutes. But there's a lot of visual effects, there's a lot of storytelling, visual storytelling, and so the actual amount of Japanese spoken in that video would be 15 minutes, let's say. Also, a different example, let's say I spent 2 hours watching Japanese YouTube, but in the middle I go scroll my phone a little bit, and then my brother asks me something and I go and help him out. Another 10 minutes I just spent scrolling, looking for another video to watch. Turns out those 2 hours of study I thought, oh yeah, I did a fair bit of Japanese immersion, but actually I've only watched maybe half an hour of content in that 2 hours. And so right now I have this notebook. Every single day I write down how much time I spent watching what. So for example, Riorara Yohane, Riorara Suberanai Hanashi, YouTube Passive Emerging, Planet Anime, Riorara Jaru Jaru Comedy, YouTubers, anime, movies in Japanese, and I estimate about the amount of time that I spent actually hearing Japanese in that time window. It doesn't have to be perfect, you don't need to get it down to a couple seconds or like a couple minutes. I usually estimate it about 2 full 5 minutes, 10 minutes. So I have the general idea of, okay, did I immerse for 2 hours today, or maybe I just did half an hour, right? Since I started tracking my immersion hours this way, I realized that I actually studied way less than I thought I did. So I thought I was doing so much. Turns out a whole day I felt like I was studying. I wrote down everything that I watched in Japanese. It's like, what do you mean I only did like 50 minutes of Japanese contents? It doesn't make any sense. But then I see it, and the next day I'm like, oh, okay, yesterday I failed a bit. Oh, yeah, I remember I got distracted. I scrolled on my phone. I was texting a girl. And so I didn't end up studying at all. I just got distracted. My study session wasn't that productive. So today I'll fix that mistake and I'll lock in. I'll just do all my immersion hours at once, full focus. And that way you have this accountability, right? Yesterday you did 2 hours. Today let's try 2 hours and 10 minutes, right? The next day maybe 2.5 hours. And that way you go up to your goal of immersion, maybe 3 hours a day. This might feel bothersome for some people, like, oh, you're telling me I have to use notebook, like write down on paper, but you're telling me to write with a pen. Of course, you can also do it online. I prefer it in this physical form because online you just have to use like some weird app like Notion or some tracker. You need internet for it, and this is just so clear. You know how sometimes all those online tools are like so good, they're so efficient, so productive, so aesthetic, but actually there's just way too many unnecessary steps. So for example, you want to write something down like a presentation in Canva, but you could just write down like a chart, or write down like a couple points on paper in a notebook so much quicker than on a external program. This is the same reason that I started using my notebook. So after every single day I sum up the amount of time that I studied. So for example, I watched 30 minutes of Riorara YouTube. I watched 60 minutes of like gospel, like a Bible movie of John's Gospel, 20 minutes of YouTube again, and 100 minutes of gospel again. Amounts up to 210 minutes. I write it down, and at the end of each month, I go around this whole notebook, I see, okay, 210, 160, 45, 152, 45, 150, and I sum up everything and have this idea of how much hours of immersion I actually do each month, how many hours of study. It's usually 50, about 50 when I'm not really when some days I'm not that disciplined, but I average about 2 hours of immersion every single day. And I thought that I was doing way more. I thought that I was doing 4 hours a day. I thought I was doing 5 hours a day, cuz this is the amount of time that I spent studying Japanese. Actually turns out I'm only doing like hour and a half, 2 hours of watching Japanese content and actual learning. On top of that, I study with, I do kanji, I do like Anki, I do some speaking, some reading, but mostly I'm just tracking my immersion hours. Here I also have, at the end of November, I wrote down my statistics. So I did 50 hours of immersion plus talking, because talking with Japanese people is also immersion, like you're actually probably learning way more talking because you're more engaged in the process. I did 300 new Anki cards, which is about 10 new a day. And this is some YouTube stuff, like uploaded 5 videos in a month, got 92 Instagram followers. And this really, it is quite fun. So if you actually care about learning Japanese, you would probably enjoy actually tracking down and seeing how much progress you're doing. Maybe when you're already fluent, you look back on it, it's like, oh yeah, this month, I remember this month I was really just watching Death Note and I was watching this anime and that YouTuber, and you just remembered what took you to that fluency. And this really what it does is that if Japanese is actually important to you, if you actually care about learning the language, having your future in Japan, living in the country, really just being around the people, being fluent, being a part of that culture and having that culture be a part of you, you shouldn't leave this goal to chance. So you shouldn't rely on your like whimsical motivation and just your vague estimate of how much studying you're actually doing. You should treat it very seriously. You should be like, okay, I did 50 hours this month, November 2020, like 2026, January, let me try going to like 70 hours of immersion. So I have to do way more each day, and you actually see if you're doing more. So after a week, you see you've only done like 3 hours of immersion a day, or you've only done like 2 hours a day. You're like, oh, okay, I have to pump those numbers up if I actually want to achieve my goal. What this also does is that it makes your ruts obvious, plateaus very, very obvious. So for example, before you started tracking, you're like, oh, recently Japanese just doesn't feel that good. I don't feel like I'm making that much progress. I wonder what's wrong. Did I hit a plateau? Am I actually learning? Will I actually end up being fluent? And you're just guessing, coming up with fake kind of ideas of what stopped your progress. With this little notebook, it's like, oh, okay, the last week I literally did less than an hour of immersion in Japanese a day. Of course, I feel less confident in my language ability. This also keeps you accountable. For example, during the Christmas break right now, I was hoping to do like amazing hours, like 10 hours of immersion a day, something crazy, really skyrocketing my Japanese. I got sick. I only did like 20 minutes a day the last few days. And this is just like, okay, I see this. And this stays in my notebook. So it's not 1 page a day. It's like a lot of it, right? So right here, a couple days in a row, I only did 20 minutes of Japanese immersion. It's like, oh, this cannot stay like this. I have to lock in. I've gotta come back to the grind mode. And so, okay, the next day, I stopped being sick. 2 hours of immersion that day. Amazing, amazing. You have a clear sense of progress. Every single day you're clocking in, you're like writing this stuff down. You're actually chasing that goal. So this is just completely gets rid of a possibility of you hitting like a plateau. Because every single day you should be doing more, or at least you shouldn't go below the baseline. So the baseline would be, okay, no matter what happens, I should be able to get an hour of Japanese listening every single day, no matter what happens at all, right? So even if you're sick, even if you're like out traveling, still get your earbuds, get your Japanese listening podcast, Japanese music in, and still just try to do that 1 hour. How Japanese has felt for me ever since I started tracking. It's legit more fun to study, because I actually feel like it's a video game. Like I'm getting XP in the skill of Japanese, and I'm really just getting really, really good at Japanese recently. It's so much fun. Like, when you play like those competitive games, you're getting LP, you're getting like a hype or whatever, you're getting like to a higher rank in CSGO, League of Legends, or whatever. This is kind of like that, but you have to come up, be a little bit creative, come up with those ranks yourself, or you can just aim for those numbers. So it's fun, how numbers are really, really addictive, how making money is addictive, how getting numbers, getting points in video games is addictive. This is the same thing. And getting addicted to studying Japanese, it's like, bro, this is kind of what you want, right? If you're watching this video, if you're interested in this culture, if you want to learn the language, you want to be addicted to what's giving you a better life, right? You could also compete with people. So like, oh, okay, I did 2 hours, my friend did 3 hours of Japanese, he's getting ahead of me, let me try and get a better score the next day. And really, what I've noticed, how I felt tracking Japanese, is that I notice patterns about my own Japanese. So for example, 2 hours tracked, I only did 2 hours that day. It's like, fine, alright, I'm studying, I'm making some progress. But then I see I did 4 hours. So for example, I binge watched like a series completely in Japanese, zero English, just fully in Japanese mode. I also spent like an hour talking to Japanese people. It's like, oh, okay, I'm in the Japanese mode, I'm in the zone, I'm in that flow state, I feel so confident in my language. And you should be able to achieve that at least once. So if you've never really tracked down, you've never really felt like, oh yeah, Japanese, this is it, this is like Asia, this is all Japanese all the time, I feel really immersed right now. If you've never had that feeling, you've probably never actually hit your immersion goals. You've probably never actually hit 4 hours, 5 hours of Japanese in a day. And this really is what moves the needle. If you don't do it, you progress at like a snail's pace, really. 1 hour a day, 2 hours a day, you're making some progress, okay, but combine those 2 hours, maybe 3 hours of immersion, get Anki, get some pronunciation practice, do some sentence mining. Okay, now you're getting closer to that fluency. So I hope this video, by this point you're convinced that you should at least try immersing for a week. If you just do like a week, it's like with tracking calories. You get the idea of about how much time you're actually immersing, you're able to estimate it a lot better, but after a week you'll probably get addicted to the process, it will probably be more fun to you. It'll be like, oh, okay, let me just track it forever, I feel that this is good for me. I don't want this video to just go over you, right? So you know how a lot of language videos are just like, oh yeah, this is the game plan, this is the advice, this is how you should study, this is the end goal. Oh, imagine yourself already in Japan speaking to all those native people. I don't want it to be like that. I want to literally force my beliefs, my kind of language ideas onto you, the stuff that's actually helped me change, the stuff that's actually actively helping me improve my Japanese, going at an amazing pace, really just getting better and better every single day, progressing to being able to really just talk to Japanese people at a way higher level, getting to a higher level of Japanese confidence, to where I can approach girls in Japanese, to where I can make videos in Japanese, to where I can watch anything I want in Japanese without English subtitles. There are only a couple things that I've actually implemented that really just changed it all for me. It felt like an amazing realization, like escaping the matrix or whatever, like discovering this serum of language fluency, and this is one of them. This is what really, just implementing this one small thing, changed how I learned Japanese completely. And it's like changing gears, right? So you're going at gear one, just using a textbook. Gear 2, doing some flashcards, maybe some listening. Gear 3, maybe you're doing AJAT, maybe you're doing immersion. Gear 4, you're implementing Anki. Gear 5 is just you're going at a rapid pace. You're just really taking it seriously. You're really making a lot of progress in this difficult language. So yeah, subscribe to this channel for more videos. And also, if you're going to Japan by chance and you want to make sure that your life, social life, stays on point, that you're actually able to talk to a lot of people, to socialize, approach, really build this connection with people in a country that feels so foreign, that normally has the reputation of being antisocial, being very introvert centered. I do this thing where I meet up with guys in Japan. We go out, socialize. I help you meet people to set up your social life in this country. Message me on Instagram if that sounds like something interesting to you. And yeah, see ya.